Anything else comes to your mind?
We have to retain right people for more number of years.
Right. So we talked about the Pareto model, where uh, a lot of value is provided by a few people. 20% of the people deliver 80% of the value. So your top performers are very important. They are very critical for your organization. And that is what talent management is all about. That you will safeguard your top performers because they are delivering a lot of value for your organization. So, that was you know the gist of what we discussed last time. Okay, I think Ganesh and Anand are here, so I think we can get started with today's session. Good morning, Ganesh. Good morning, Anand.
Good morning, sir. So I think you were discussing about the Pareto analysis, right?
Yeah, we were basically discussing what we discussed last time.
Okay. But is it, I mean, applicable to all industry or in general, or is it the only applicable when there is a problem arised or situation arises? I mean, I just heard a last statement from you. So in an organization, will it be the always truth or always case? Like 20% will be the people who will be contributing for the 80% of the success. Is that stands true for the ideal situation or only in the problem situation?
Good question.
It's very subjective.
So I don't know if there is an answer to that,
Okay.
in a textbook. But personally, having worked for almost 3 decades, I've seen that Pareto holds true,
Okay.
everywhere. Uh,
Mhm.
that, for example, if you look at customer service, 20% of the customers create 80% of the problems. So
Yeah.
not every customer has a problem. Most customers don't have any problems, but some customers do, and almost all the problems come from them. So similarly, if you look at uh, the working of any process or a system,
Mhm.
80% of the issues will be coming from 20% of uh,
Correct.
the possibilities. So it kind of holds true. It's a interesting thought which
Mhm.
Italian social scientist Wilfredo Pareto had in
Yeah.
the 1890s, and it kind of holds true everywhere. That's my experience, but I've not really come across any book or any article where it says that it holds true everywhere. But I've seen it holds true everywhere. If not 80%, maybe 70, sometimes maybe 90. Not exactly around those numbers, but
Mhm.
broadly the principle holds true.
Okay. Got it, sir.
Great. So today we will talk about models of talent management, and basically one critical model which is known as the Dave Ulrich model of talent management. So it makes sense to have models because models basically, create a structure for a thought, and we can kind of understand the structure to understand what the thought is behind this. So primarily, that is what we will be looking at today, and we will also kind of do a small exercise where all of us will kind of get into a huddle and think a solution for an issue. Okay, so I will share my screen. Thanks for the thumbs up, Ganesh. Now I know that you can see the screen. Okay, so welcome to the second class of talent management. So we'll talk a little bit about what is this model about and what are the models that we'll talk about. These are fairly simple models. There is nothing very complex in this. But as you were talking about the Pareto principle, so it's important to have a strategic perspective of what are we going to be doing. Because as I was saying that, strategy is about differentiation, and talent is a key ingredient in terms of how you differentiate, how you ensure that you are a notch above your competitors. Okay, so that's where you have to be strategic. There are millions of transactions which will go on every day. You will be logging in, you will be meeting clients, you will be meeting customers, you will be hanging around with your colleagues, you will be doing your performance management, etc., etc. But it's important to understand the whole thing in a strategic perspective, which is how do we differentiate, what are the critical tasks. So as I said last time, that talent management is a part of HR, but it is not HR. HR will be doing a lot of things. HR will be doing payroll management. HR will be doing induction. HR will be hiring people. But when you focus on the top talent, all the activities that are focused on it, the top talent which will give you 80% of the value of what the organization generates. So you have to be very strategic. You have to be very aware, very mindful of the actions that you're taking, which are the strategic actions. Then you have the process perspective. You know, anything. So why do you think we have a process in place? What role do process and procedures play? Any thoughts?
It's a marker or a guideline. Basically, in corporate terms, that's called a SOP. But
Mhm.
SOP is based to make your life easier, so that you know when a challenge is posed or something needs to be done. Uh, what is the basic guideline that you need to follow so that you can overcome this, or you can follow the steps to reach the goal, basically.
Okay, good, Shuli. Yeah, you've got the key uh, reason why we have a process, but there is one more element. Why? What does process help us do? Anybody? Yeah, Ganesh.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be various talent or various people, uh, I mean, working for the same goal.
Mhm.
And then there could be a problem about various people's uh, talent or the expertise to achieve the goal. So, to achieve the goal in a same fashion or to keep the standardization, I think we put the processes so that everybody will be on the same page, that they will be following the same procedure so that there should not be any variation to achieve the target or to achieve the goal.
Okay, and if there is no variation, if everybody is aligned, like Shuli also said, so how will it help?
It makes us it helps us in assuring quality of the outcome through the process we have established, adhering to the standardization and quality parameters. So processes are defined from the it's somewhere the conceptual framework that are being derived in operational framework, and operation sets the steps to be followed as per adhering to the quality
Okay,
that
Anand, good. But once you get quality, how will that help?
Quality creates scope for achieving the strategies which we have uh, defined for the organization or the
Okay, you
services.
are very close. Okay, so the answer I'm looking for, see, all of you are right, absolutely. Shivli, Ganesh, Anand, all of you are right. Only thing is that when you talk about quality, when you talk about everybody being on the same page, basically what it helps us achieve is scale. If everybody, like Shivli said about SOPs, so standard operating procedures. So when you have standard operating procedures for every activity, what happens is you become person independent. You are focused on the process. You're not dependent on any person. And what that allows you to do is that you can scale up. It does, quality also helps us. Basically, quality is one of the three dimensions of time, money, quality. These are the three aspects of any project or any initiative. So that is very critical. But here what we're talking about is scaling. So you cannot scale if an organization is dependent on people, on specific individuals to do something, and it is not converted into an SOP, and that SOP is not circulated among people, people are not aware of it, then that organization cannot scale up, and it will remain stuck at a lower level. It cannot, for example, any you look at the startups, it's quite amazing how they suddenly come and they grow rapidly, and many of them become unicorns. Uh, Unicorn is anybody who's touching a revenue of about $1 billion, which is 8,000 crores. So that's the process perspective. If you have processes in place, it will really help you to scale up. You cannot scale if you don't have processes, and processes basically align everybody. It ensures that that any new person comes in and there is no break in the process. There is no break in the production that is going on, in the output that is being delivered. So that is what process does. Does that make sense? Thanks, Ganesh. I like your thumbs ups. Okay. Next is cultural perspectives. So, any thought on culture?
Very important organization culture, because I think processes, strategy, and all the other things which is mentioned over here, the other perspectives,
Mhm.
are sometimes based on the organization culture. And coming from a little bit of, very, very little bit of, experience in human resources, I think the organization culture can somewhere make or break an organization when when it is challenged with a lot of outside issues, like COVID example, or the current thing which is happening where a lot of layoffs are happening, like big chunks of layoffs are happening in organizations. The culture on how we approach it and how do we talk about it, what's next, what more, other than the SOPs or other than the process which is defined, what the organization can do or the people in the organization can do for this employees, that matters a lot over here, and that all depends on the organization culture.
Yeah, very good, Shuri. So, so culture is very, very critical. Culture is it's something very deep down. It enters our subconscious and our unconscious. That is how culture. So therefore, culture becomes very powerful. And culture is the unsaid but the default way of looking at things. Okay. Somebody defined culture as a structure of feeling. you know it's a structured way of feeling something. So Peter Drucker, who was known as the ultimate management guru. He said that culture has strategy for breakfast. A lot of people feel strategy is the most important thing, but he felt that culture is far more important than even strategy, and culture can have strategy for breakfast. So culture is something which is deep down, and like Shuli said that when you have some life changing events, when you have some major transformation taking place. For example, COVID was a time when you know uh, we were caught unawares. All organizations were kind of looking for answers. They did not know how to cope with all these challenges. So at that time, basically your culture comes into play. Okay. And you decide a lot of things based on the culture of your organization. Yes, Ganesh.
Yes, sir. I think the culture can be looked at two stage. One is about the country, maybe, or the society, and the another stage is about the organization.
Right.
So I can say, like, I mean, there is a heavy impact on the European or the US kind of culture, and then something like Asian culture. So I think last time also we somehow touched that individualism and collectivism. So
Mhm.
in the in the talent management, there could be various decisions that you take. So some countries, I mean, European countries or the US country, these people take the individualism. So the decision making happens as a single person. And if you see the Asian or maybe Japanese people, there the decision happens from the team perspective. So I think the decision making has a huge impact on the cultural perspective as well.
Yes, yes, you're right. Uh, so yeah, sorry, Geeta has a point. Yes, Geeta.
So, when we are talking about the context, sorry, when we are talking about the culture in a MNC organization, so we are talking about the different geos and countries. So, where whenever we, if any individual is joining, and whenever we have a merger or acquisition of new organization into the existing one, so first we train the culture of the organization, because here every country has their own culture. So how we can collaborate to each other and can come to a one point. For the same, we used to have a cultural training, because some of the countries are low context countries because they explain lots of things, but some of the countries are high context countries where just they share very few points where they are very conservative. So until unless we'll not have a cultural into the organization, we were not able to survive when we are talking about the multiple geos. So culture is something which can help us in surviving in dealing with multiple geos and countries, and how we can coordinate with different countries people, and how we need to collaborate, how we can share our observations or our thought process. So when we're talking about the MNC company, cultural training is something which comes first. We train on the culture of the specific country. If let's suppose if I need to work for a Japanese country, or if I need to work for a German look geo, so first I need to be trained on the culture of that country, so that I can collaborate with those people, because every country has their own culture, thought process, and specific kind of working way. So until unless I'm not aware about those specifics, so I was not able to do. So lots of MNC companies are focusing upon the culture of the organization, so that everybody have a common thing to work upon.
Yes, Geeta. Thank you. That's wonderful insights that you have shared. You are absolutely right. Culture is very important, and every company has a culture which is influenced by a particular country or by multiple countries. So let's say some of the automobile manufacturers are German or Japanese, and they have their own cultures. And like you said, low context and high context. So in so for everybody's benefit, the high context cultures are where people are very like Japanese culture. They are it's very difficult to enter and understand what they are thinking, how they are thinking, what are the key aspects of their thought. Whereas open cultures, low context cultures are like the American culture, where anybody who's not American can integrate fairly quickly. It will not take too much time. So while the Japanese culture you cannot integrate quickly, it takes time because they are high context, dense cultures. So therefore, you need to kind of, if you're dealing with a Japanese company, it's important that you understand their culture. Uh, I will give you an example of automobile manufacturer, in Gurgaon. So I was a consultant over there, and over there, everybody, sits in an open hall. The assistant manager and the vice president, everybody at the same level. Like in an Indian company, you would see the vice president sits in a cabin, but over there, everybody sits at the same level. Everybody is in at 9 o'clock. Everybody is out at 5 o'clock. And no Saturday is a holiday unless it's there is prior planning that it has to be a holiday. So everything is kind of there in front of you. There are no hierarchies. Everybody works very, very, very hard. So that's the way it is. So you have to understand that this is the culture of the company. And uh, they did a small experiment. Since we are talking about it, I will just elaborate. So they did a small experiment, and what they did was they said that everybody in our company has been working here for 20, 30 years. So why don't we do some assimilation from other industries? So what they did was they got some people from the banks, from HDFC, Axis, Kotak, etc. They got people from some banks at a managerial level. When those people came in and they saw this culture, within 12 months, almost all of them left because they couldn't adjust to this culture, this drive that the Japanese companies have. That they even have a term for this. I'm forgetting, it's Kubashi or something like that, which they talk about, where they talk about overwork. You know, Croatia or something like that. But anyway, so they talk about how they kind of are completely focused on work. So which is very difficult for regular people from other Indian industries to come and adjust to that. So they had, they almost all the people left. So culture is a huge differentiator. Yes, Ganesh, you have a point.
Yeah, I mean, when you're referring to the Japanese, I'm working in Japanese company only. So just wanted to share one example. Like we may not think about like what these people think. So just a small example, like in a lift, if you're going, then there are also rules, like who will stand where. So the seniority is also respected a lot, and the
Mhm.
senior people will always go behind so
Okay.
that they will not push the buttons or they will not get the disturbance always opening the door or new people coming in, somebody leaving out.
Mhm.
So that also is defined and
Mhm.
they follow it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it may be very hard to digest it with the people like India or maybe from the US or maybe European countries. But then it is it is at some point I think the perspective is to respect seniors or respect the other people. And there is nothing wrong, I think, to just follow it. But sometimes when people address it first time, they
Mhm.
do have the very different perspective, like why this, why that. But
Right.
when you go into deep dive, then you
Mhm.
understand the importance of it. Yeah, I mean, just wanted to share that.
No, that's a very good point. I have noticed that in Japanese factories, which side of the staircase you are supposed to walk, which side is supposed to go up, or which side you're supposed to go down. That is also earmarked. uh, and like I've been to the Toyota factory, and everything is, which way, the way you're supposed to walk, the way you're supposed to turn, the way you're supposed to, whether you're going or coming, depending on that, they kind of define the pathway. So you're right, everything is defined. So that is culture, and culture makes a huge difference. But along with that, I would also I think Geeta made a very important points. Another thing I would want to make a point I would make is that whichever culture you may be a part of, whether it's Japanese, Indian, American, German, but now gradually as organizations are globalizing, so there are certain basic professional cultural aspects that are being defined, and that has to be followed in every culture. So coming on time, delivering on time, uh, mutual respect, living up to your commitments, these are some basic premises that hold true in every culture and has to hold true for an organization to succeed. So there is a book, by Subroto Bakchi, The Professional, and there are a lot of things he lays down that these are things that any professional person would need to do. And I quite agree that while culture is very critical, but every organization then needs to define their culture. And as I was mentioning last time, that I worked in GE for 6 years, and in those days, Jack Welch used to be the CEO of GE, and GE was the world's most respected company for maybe 8 or 9 years consecutively. So the culture was very powerful over there. Every corridor, every wall, you go to the cafeteria, everywhere there was some statement being made, and you had to, and the statements were very powerful. And because G was constantly telling you that this is what we believe and this is what you need to practice. For example, Six Sigma was one pillar of GE. Maybe it still is, I don't know. But so there would be one poster saying that Six Sigma is not a spectator sport, which means that you cannot just sit in the audience and watch. You have to be a participant. Everybody has to be a participant. You cannot just sit on the sidelines and applaud. You have to get into it. Okay. Then another statement would be boundaryless, which means that don't lock yourself in a departmental silo. That, oh, I am finance, I don't care what operation does. Oh, I am HR, I don't care what sales does. You have to know what is going on in every department, or what is going on in your company. If you don't know that, then you are lost in a silo, and you are not going to be effective because you are not seeing the big picture. So there are companies which try to define the culture of their organization, and those companies generally succeed very well. Where they define the culture of their organization and define it broadly enough to accommodate all these aspects of different countries, as well as the professional values that we spoke about. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Great.
So is that something called left shift or something right shift? That you should not be just looking at your silo, but also looking at something, the next step or the next department that might be using your services, or that might be used,
Yes, that
or
that maybe yeah. I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, there could be. I mean, I think what I mentioned about being boundaryless, that also is
okay.
referring to the same thing. So the idea is, yeah, there is a book called Maverick, where he talks about how he grew his business exponentially within a few years, and he says that you have to be a silo buster, which means break up silos. Don't allow people to sit in their silos and be in their comfort zones. So you should have a broader perspective. You should have an end-to-end view of how the business is progressing. So that is that's one culture. Particularly, I think startups nowadays have that culture that they want to grow exponentially. They want to go very fast. And I have lots of friends who have worked in traditional companies who are now working in startups, and I think they are kind of really surprised by the pace of a startup. Obviously, many people are not liking it, because if you have worked in a traditional organization, with this traditional values and traditional way of working. Startups are doing maybe 16 hours a day or something like that. So that's very hard work, and people who are used to working in a conventional pace, they may not like it. But there are companies which are working 12 hours, 16 hours. People are working very hard to reach a certain threshold. Um, so that's the culture of a startup. But you may want to join, you may not want to join. But it's tough, it's demanding. And in this situation, the talent has to be even more up to the mark. They have to be so. Imagine if such a competitive space, if somebody is a top talent, then how good they would need to be. So, but anyway, going back to the point of cultural perspective, culture is very critical. Culture is the base of your organization. It's better that you formally create a culture which is aligned with your values and your vision, and then you work on it. Okay. I know somebody who's doing research on the importance of culture, and he talks about, just like you have emotional intelligence, he talks about cultural intelligence. What kind of a cultural intelligence is there in the company? So that's a important, nice way of looking at things. Okay, moving on to competitive perspective. That, of course, like again, we have been talking about strategy, and strategy is all about differentiation, and differentiation so that you are competitive, so that you are one notch above your next competitor. So this is where the differentiation comes in, that you have good talent. So first of all, you are able to attract good talent. Once you attract the good talent, then the next thing is, how do you retain the good talent? Okay, so that's how you remain competitive. You need to have some of the best people in the organization, in the industry. And for example, we know Hindustan Unilever, they are supposed to be the best in retail, along with maybe ITC and Marico, Dabur. So everybody looks for the talent to come, whether it is Dabur, whether it is ITC, whether it is Marico, whether it is now you also have Patanjali. So everybody looks to get talent from Unilever, because Unilever is supposed to be the fountainhead of talent in the retail business. Somebody who's worked in Unilever for maybe 10, 15 years, they are a very precious resource, and everybody seeks them out. So, so that you are able to understand what are the industry best practices. So that's where your competitive perspective comes in, that you want to get the talent which is the best in the industry, so that you can compete better with your competition. Next is developmental perspectives. Any thought on what developmental perspective means? Anyone?
Is it aligning with the latest trends?
Yeah, in a way. Anybody would like to add what Ganesh said?
Developmental. Or do you want to go ahead?
No. You please,
Sorry.
please carry on.
So
Ladies
development.
first.
No problem. Developmental perspective is like every organization have their vision and mission. So what is the percentage of their profit or something they want to invest in their future learning and developments, or organization development? Let's suppose if we talk about the Google. So in Google, 70% something they invest in their current recent goals. 20% something which is they invest in their upcoming 10 to 15 years goal, and 10% something they put into research and development, which is not existing right now, but yes, maybe in future after 20, 25 years, 30, so they may pursue that. So what is your organization perspective? How developmental or how they are thinking about this perspective?
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, Anand, you would like to add to what Geeta said?
Yes. Uh, uh, Moving further, in my view, it's about uh, how developmental paradigm is being defined in the larger context of society, technology, economy, and all. So, in that way, what is looking at the needs of the larger in the larger context, and accordingly deciding on the strategy and moving towards that to achieve that strategy, the goals. So for me, any organization, for establishing their relevance, they they position themselves into a larger context of society where socio-political as well as environmental and economic uh, definitions are there, and within which they position themselves. And accordingly, those paradigms are being set and strategies are being made.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Anand, actually, in a talent management perspective, when we are talking about developmental, so you are right in a way, but that is when we are talking about strategy. When you are looking at the political, economic, social dimensions of the economy and of the country that you are in, and you are, positioning your organization over there. But yeah, when we are talking about talent management, then what Geeta said is quite correct. Uh, Basically developmental, and that's why you use the word learning and development. Learning is your whatever you are learning today, and development is basically the future perspective. How do you look at how the company is going to pan out in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? So you develop your people accordingly, so that they are ready to take the challenges which you may be facing maybe 3 years down the line. So that's the developmental perspective. So you have to factor that in, that not only are you dealing with today's challenges, you are preparing your people for today's challenges, but you are becoming future ready, which is that tomorrow, maybe 3 years down the line, we don't know what Gen AI will do, how many people will be required, and maybe more people will be required. We don't know. But how do you prepare for that? How do you ensure that your people are ready for a VUCA world? So VUCA, VUCA. It's a very volatile, uncertain, complex world that you are living in. So how do you kind of adjust to uh, that? So that is the developmental perspective. Next is the HR planning perspective. This is fairly simple. It's basically, HR planning is very critical. It's you have to kind of align with the overall organization plan. If the organization wishes to expand, if the organization wishes to shrink, if the organization wishes to go to a new country or get into a new product, then HR has to complement that with the talent that is required to achieve those strategic goals. So HR will go along with that and ensure that we have the right talent. Suppose Tata Motors decides that, okay, they will focus more on electric vehicles. Therefore, they have to get the right talent to hire so that they have the people who will develop those electric vehicles. Everybody is not an expert on electric vehicles. People may be experts on combustion engine, which is using petrol or diesel, but the electric vehicles are different, and you need expertise over there. So therefore, you have to get the right talent to come in and help us develop those engines. And last but not the least is change management. So we have already talked about this. Change is kind of the only thing permanent is change. That's the famous saying. So therefore, change management is very critical, and we have to be ready for change. We can see that there is AI, there is Gen AI, there is machine learning, there is automation. Everything is happening around us, and all of these things, they are making big changes. So how do we kind of live with these changes? How do we deal with them, and how do we take advantage of that? So these are some of the things which go into the talent management model. So this is known as the integrated TM model, and it's fairly simple. It has, it starts with strategy. So you identify the business strategy. What is the business strategy? You look at, then you define your HR strategy. So you start with recruitment and staffing, selection, talent review, and succession planning. So talent review is where you look at, again, the Pareto principle comes in, that who are your best people, and how do you retain them? How do you ensure that the critical role that they are playing, people continue to play that role through good succession planning? Uh, Next is you look at assessing them. So you have, how do you make out that they are your best people? Through performance assessment, through leadership assessments, through 360-degree feedback, and engagement surveys. You may have Gallup, or you may have other engagement surveys, but that shows up the metal of these top talents. Like for example, I used to work in an organization where there was a Gallup poll that was happening for every manager. And every manager, to continue to be a good manager or to be a manager, they had to score 60% and above. That is, the employee rating had to be 60% and above. If it was less, then they came under a big question mark. So that is a basic talent that was expected from them, that you need to know how to handle your teams. Next is you also have to ensure you retain these people, because it's not enough to hire them, not enough to assess them. You have to retain these people. So one is you have to engage with them. People, like they say that people do not leave companies, they leave their managers. So how are they being managed? What is the leadership engagement with them? Then what are the differentiated rewards they are getting? They have to get the best ratings in the company. They have to get reward and recognition in the company. They have to be appreciated, because without this, you will not be able to retain your top talent. And measuring the effectiveness of your initiatives, that is very important as well. So and last but not the least, you keep developing them through executive development. You may have special tie-ups with various universities or institutes where you can send them, groom them further, career planning for them, talent movement, coaching, mentoring, and uh, ensuring that they have a clear view of their career progression. How does a clear view of career progression help? Would anybody like to answer?
So clear progression plan, if it is there, it helps the employee to retain. The retention of the employee will be improved, because the person should see that what is there, it is for them, if they are going to spend, because that plays a very critical role. If there is a very fast transaction of the people will be happening in any organization, so it is going to pull you backward as an organization. You are going to invest onto the grooming and development of the person, and if there will be the very fast turnover of the humans will be there, then probably you are not going to achieve your and that is also going to impact organization badly, because the people who are going out, they are not going to say good about the organization.
Okay, yeah. So thanks, Abhishek. See, one of the things is that when you have a clarity in terms of how you're progressing in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, then you uh, also are better aligned to the organization. If it is just a job that you're doing and you cannot see a career in front of you, then chances are that you will start looking out, you will start looking for greener opportunities. So therefore, it's very important that you work out a career for your top talent. The clearer they are about their careers, the better it is for them, and the better it is for retention. So giving a line of sight into the career really makes a big difference as compared to just doing a job somewhere. And this is a constant recurring issue with many organizations, that we are not able to give line of sight into how their career is going to pan out in a few years. This always helps great retention. Great, let's move on. So there is this model of a HR business partner, and how they can help groom your talent. So the HR business partner, some companies have HR as business partners, and uh, they ensure that they are partnering the organization, they are partnering the top talent as somebody who's working along with them. So they can advise on the people dimension of the business, the strategy advisor, impactful storyteller. Nowadays there is a lot of focus on storytelling, and instead of just telling people something, if you tell it like a story, people listen more. So therefore, the impactful storyteller is something which is coming up both for HR as well as for sales, that you are able to get people's attention when you tell or share information like a story. Then HR business partner is also somebody who is a strong data handler. It's very important for the HR person to be able to sift through lots of data around people. Who are the top performers? Why are they top performers? What is the criteria to make them the top performer? What is the attrition rate? What is the median salary for the top performers? All these data dimensions they need to be on top of this. Next is the HR should be seen as a dependable coach. Somebody you can go to, somebody you can ask questions to. Unfortunately, what I've seen in many organizations is that HR does not play the role of a coach. HR plays the role of a class monitor. Are you doing this right? Are you doing that right? This is not good, this is not okay. So that has to go, and HR has to interact with people as a dependable coach. And therefore, the last point, which is provide a neutral perspective, and they need to be approachable. People should feel comfortable going to them. Okay, makes sense. Any thoughts, any observations on this? Okay, if not, we will move on. So this is the Dave Ulrich model of HR roles, and this is similar to the talent management model that we saw earlier. So he has 4 quadrants. What is the future and strategic focus, and what is the day-to-day operational focus? And x-axis, he has processes on one side and people on the other side. So this is a 4 quadrant model. So HR, the top talent needs to be a strategic partner. You have to partner them and look at your strategic resources. Do not look at everybody with the same lens. The top talent has to be seen with a different lens. Okay. Next is the top talent also works as a change agent, and you have to manage the transformation and change. You have to be ahead of this. You should not be caught unawares when there is a change happening. So, especially in the IT industry, on a technical industry, change plays a very critical role. When Sam Palmisano, who was the CEO of IBM, he was asked, what keeps you awake at night? So when that question came to him, he thought for a while, and then he said that I may miss out a major technological change. That is what keeps me awake at night. So therefore, it's very important that you are one shot ahead of the change. Next is administrative partner. Handling the day-to-day work, day-to-day operational focus, and recognizing and rewarding the employee contribution. So it's a fairly simple model you can read about. I will share some more material on this. You can read about it. And there may be questions in the exams on the generic TM model or on the Dave Ulrich model. Any questions so far? Okay.
Sir, just
yeah.
one question. In the previous slide, there is something written as a people and the process.
Sorry?
There is something like written for the change agent and employee champion as a people on the right side.
Yeah.
On the left side, it is something like process.
Right.
So anything on that?
Yeah. So, on the left, you have processes, which is being a strategic partner, being administrative partner, while the top talent, when we talk about the people dimension, they need to be the change agents. You have to ensure that they are comfortable with change, they are ahead of the change, and they also have to be, their employee contribution has to be recognized. So that is the people aspect of the top talents. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so would anybody like to read this? Any volunteers? Okay, I will read it out loud. So here is a case study. So there is a major hospital in the US state of Georgia called Health Hub, which has a good reputation, and it is a modern hospital, but it is not state of the art. And it is expensive, but the services are good. They are not exceptional. Maybe because it is the only large hospital in this area, therefore it is, it can demand a premium price, while the services it offers are okay, not very, very good, but fairly good. Now there is a change that is happening, which is that a major chain of hotels called Columbus, which is famous, worldwide, has decided to set up a state-of-the-art hospital very close to Health Hub. So initially, it would have been only half the number of beds, as Health Hub, would add capacity, as they go. So initially, they will add only half the number of beds, which means that they aren't going to be as big as Health Hub is. But Columbus will gradually expand its services and add more beds, and its services would be priced similarly, but it would offer much more modern diagnostics and best-in-class treatment. So now, obviously, Health Hub is very worried that, because it is going to be setting up very close to Health Hub, that employees would leave, particularly the top talent. And, so therefore, it has started refocusing on its employees, and it is refocusing on workforce planning. And they have decided to hire an HR consultant to devise a talent development model, which would help the hospital retain its talent. Now, you are the HR consultant, so please help Health Hub develop a talent development model, which will help the hospital stem the possible loss of talent. Is that clear? Okay, great. Thanks for the thumbs up. So what we will do now is we will divide ourselves into two groups, and we will discuss this. You can take a screenshot of this if you wish to, or I'll also show it to you. Uh, so okay, and then we will come back 10 minutes later after having decided our talent management strategy and discuss. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. So let's. Okay, so as I said that I'm dividing you into two groups. And you have to discuss this case study between yourselves. You are the HR consultant, and then you are going to come back with a set of recommendations in terms of what Health Hub should do to compete better with the new hospital chain which is coming up in the neighborhood. So I'm creating two breakout rooms. Okay, actually there are quite a few of us, so I will create 3 rooms. And you need to discuss amongst yourself. So in room 1, we have Abhijit, Anand Kumar, Anirban, Madhu, Minal, Vijay Raghavan. Room 2, we have Abhijit, Abhishek, Devinder, Geeta, Sairam. Room 3, we have Bipin, Dwarika, Ganesh, Prachi, and Shivli. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good discussion. Yes, no, maybe. So, the first team led by Abhishek and Abhijit, would you like to share your observations?
So from team, the
Okay, yeah, Anand, you can also go ahead.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I am putting across my whatever we have discussed as a team.
Mhm.
Uh, so we had several points to discuss. Which one was like, are we anticipating, assuming whether our employee from the health hub will leave and join other uh, this coming entrant, new
Mhm.
entrant,
Mhm.
or so it came as, hey, by anticipating the future trends in HR setup, we can
Right.
proactively respond and be ready for the
Mhm.
whatever problem we are going to encounter. So this is the first thing. The another thing was coming up, like, we can have short term, short, mid, and long term planning for the same.
Mhm.
So that, like in short term, we can think of immediate gaps and bridging it to understand whether this is the uh, job satisfaction perspective, like talent are not being used enough so that employees are satisfied, or whether there is a salary mismatch among the doctors and other nursing staff and others. So, so these two consideration can help us to take the short-term intervention or short-term planning. In midterm, we can think of the maintaining the brand or the specialization we are known for.
Mhm.
Even if new competitions are coming up, so health sector is known for specialization and super specialization. So
Mhm.
are we maintaining that brand? And what are the gaps which we need to bridge? And in long-term perspective, we can think of uh, uh, the new trends, technological trends which are there in the market, and which involves cost, like robotic treatment, robotic operations, and kind of thing. We can think of investing in that so that we are ready to combat whatever uh, whatever new solutions are being introduced in market, and new entrants are using those for the
Right.
competition.
Right. Good.
These kind of, yeah,
Okay.
that's it, sir.
Okay. Wonderful. Thanks, Anand.
Anyone, if anyone want to add, please add if I'm missing something from our team. Abhijit, Abhishek, Meenal.
Okay. Fine. Let's go to Shivli and team. So those were very good observations, and they divided it to short term and mid and long term. So that's a good way of looking at it. Uh, team three.
Yes, sir. So, yes, so we were discussing first on a what model or what perspective we have to, we should be following. But there was like, we found that there is not only one perspective because there's a strategic part of it, there's a competitive and the change management. So there are two or three, perspectives or models that we can follow. So, with the short term, as Anand rightly said, and also Dwarika from our team pointed out that yes, we can think about hiking their salaries and probably give them perks based on probably their performance and their how loyal they have been in the organization. But as my point of debate was over there is that is not a potent, solution. Because generally, in the current scenario, it happens that whenever I get a good hike, I always go to the next organization and tell them, see, this is what they are providing us, how much you are going to give me if I get a similar kind of, job in your organization. That is one thing. But from the so this is probably a short-term kind of a, you can say, I'm not going to say a solution, but a short-term kind of a hold that we can do as an organization or as an HR. But in the midterm or the long term, probably I was discussing this and with Ganesh and the others as well in the team, is probably first see what kind of services is Columbus coming up with in this, when they are starting a new hospital in the same vicinity. Because obviously with any new organization, when they're coming with a new, we are coming with a new hospital, be it any, not only with hospitals, be it even a retail or anywhere in another industry, they will not start it full-fledgedly. They will start with something small, and then they will grow up on it, because they also have their own risk management over there. So at that moment of time, probably we can, if we can get that information, if we can get some information on the kind of employee benefits that Columbus is providing, and if we can match that with our employees, or if we can see how we are expensive, because it states that some of the services of health hubs are expensive, but services were not exceptional but good. So probably a little bit more on how we can make the patients or the people over there see how it is worth that the money that they are paying. Set up small camps to get more data, to get more customers. And somewhere, because Health Hub has already been in the state of Georgia for some time, so there is a trust factor which is there between the employees and the patients or the people who are walking in. So as an HR, we also need to work on that, create more customer trust, create a connect between the employees and I'm sure the employees would also be from the same area. So create a more better connect between the customers and the employees. So that is something which we were thinking about.
Okay, great.
Would like to add one more thing.
Sure.
Yes,
To
please go ahead,
the
Vipin.
points
Please go
also.
ahead. Yes.
So, always in every company, we do have a bench kind of thing. So that whenever someone leaves, there is someone else to fill that gap. And another thing is succession planning, where we develop talent for next roles or top roles or leadership roles. We make them feel secure about their future within the company. So
Yes, that's
succession planning is also one of the important and bench. So this we
Right.
can do. Yes.
Absolutely good. Thanks. Great. So I think, yeah, by and large, we are absolutely on the right
I'm
track.
so sorry, Dipankar. I
Yeah,
think
Geeta.
our
Sure.
group is missed out.
Yeah, Geeta, please, sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
Uh, so the discussion that we had is like being a HR partner, since
Mhm.
new competition is coming into the market with better facilities and everything. So being a HR partner, what we have decided is like first step would be the talent assessment that the employee that we have. So what is their categories, like are they below average, average, above average, or excellent resources? First, we'll do the talent assessment within the organization
Mhm.
and decide that which are the critical resources, because normally what happens is like being normally it has been seen that the top pool, the cream pool used to go, they are more prone to attrition, because if you talk about other competition also, they'll hire up cream resources, not the below average or average resources. So first we need to do the talent assessment. Post that, basis that talent assessment, we need to do the rag analysis, red, amber, green, who are my prone to attrition resources. And after that we need to do a career development planning, because there will be certain resources who will definitely go if we'll do anything, if we'll do a career planning or growth development also, but they'll definitely go because we're not able to retain them. So next opportunity will be to train the above average or average or low below average resources, so that we can maintain that performance into the organization. And we'll also ready for the succession planning, because Once we identify these are my prone to attrition resources, so we'll do the succession planning, we'll create a backups, we'll do the career development for those resources. We'll also incorporate reward and recognition into the organization by incorporating performance management plan, learning development, and these are the critical thing we'll incorporate into the organization.
Okay, very good. So you have brought in additional dimension that, how do we divide people into red, amber, green in terms of their stability and their long-term plans with the organization, and then creating a backup, which I think Bipin also shared. So great. I think, yeah, by and large, that's what is required. So here are a few, steps. So one thing is you take a step back. It is not only Health Hub, but any organization. They should start from their own organizational goals, their priorities, their vision, and basically start from scratch when they are in a life-changing situation, when they are in a very competitive situation where they may lose their talent, their people. So it's very important you start from scratch and relook at what are we all about. So let's say we are charging premium rates, but we are offering regular services. So then you need to understand that this cannot hold for too long, and there is competition around the corner, and you have to relook at your organizational goals. Then look at what are the key drivers and challenges. So they uh, if they are to look at the competitive landscape, so the new competitor will come with almost 50% capacity, and so what are my organizational drivers, and this is the challenge I'm facing. So you identify the gaps in terms of talent, that like Geeta said, that you look at uh, Geeta's group, basically, that you look at who are the people who are likely to stick, who have long-term plans, who may not have long-term plans. And therefore, you create a learning and development strategy to create a layer which will be able to take up additional responsibilities should people leave. Uh, you have to refocus your HR priorities. Like Shivli and her team suggested that pay is not enough. Pay, you increase people's pay, and chances are, like Shivli said, I don't know whether Shivli would do this or not, but Shivli said that I will just go take my new pay and go to the competitor and say, look, this is how much I'm being paid. So can you please offer me something even better than this? So pay is not good enough, but it's a very critical component. So therefore, along with compensation, you have to look at an entire package. Reward and recognition, benefits, some facilities of, let's say, once in a while working from home, or additional medical coverage, etc., etc. So you can look at basically how Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So pay is good, but you also have to fulfill the higher needs of recognition, appreciation, that the organization cares for me. All of that makes a big difference. You look at in terms of your talent management processes, what is it that you have which you use to retain people, and how can it be improved further, as we talked in the above point. And very importantly, measure what the efficacy. So far you have had less attrition because there was less competition, but in a scenario where you are likely to have more attrition, measure the efficacy of your the steps that you've taken so far, and the steps that you intend to take. Okay. And that will make your talent management processes sharper and more geared to take on competition. So great. I think all of you covered all the points. So that's really wonderful. Anything else anyone would like to share? Yeah, Ganesh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just wanted to share my thoughts. Like when I saw this case study, I was laughing a little bit more. I mean, of course, the subject that we are learning is apart, but I saw like that monopoly probably was there, and then the moment the competitor comes, how the whole organization backs up, and then so many trigger happens. Like they have to think about like how they will keep their existence, and then a lot of strategies, a lot of changes. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this case study, and definitely, I mean, the slide I think you showed about the challenge management or how there are different perspectives. Probably, if we use them, then we can answer such questions, right? Right.
Right.
Understood, right? Okay. Yeah. And
Great.
that's it, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much. Yeah.
Great. Anything else, anyone? Okay. If not, we will close today's session. Thank you. It was wonderful interacting with all of you. I wish you a great week ahead, and we will connect same time next week. So have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.